Hey friends, welcome back. Acts 2 verse 22, Peter's dropping the core truth. Jesus of Nazareth, proved by miracles, crucified by God's plan, and raised by his power. It's the resurrection that flips everything. Let's unpack this game changer he's preaching to the crowd. Proof of who Jesus is and why it matters.
Now, David was a prophet. He knew that God had promised that the Messiah would come through him. And he, seeing this before, was speaking of the resurrection of Christ, that his soul was not left in hell, neither did his flesh see corruption. Now, when Jesus died, he descended into hell. And he preached to those souls that were in prison. Now, you remember Isaiah 61, a part of the prophecy of Christ would be that he would open the doors to those that are bound and free those from prison. Set at liberty those that are captive. And so Jesus descended into hell. Because prior to the death of Christ, it was not possible that the Old Testament saints could enter into the full glory of God's presence. The Old Testament sacrifices could not put away their sins. All they could do was cover their sins as they spoke of a better sacrifice that was to come, the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. So these men all died in faith, not having received the promise, God having reserved a better thing for us, that they without us couldn't come into the perfected state. So when Jesus died, he descended into hell, preached to those souls that were in prison. But according to Paul in Ephesians chapter 4, when he ascended, he led the captives from their captivity. He who has ascended is the same one who first of all descended into the lower parts of the earth. You remember when they were asking Jesus for a sign, and he said, no sign will be given to it, you except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of the whale, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. He descended into hell. And those who were waiting with Abraham for the promises of God to be fulfilled, he preached to them the glorious victory of the cross. The sacrifice has been made. It is now complete. And he who has ascended is the same one who first of all descended. And when he ascended, he led the captives from their captivity. Freed them. So death and hell was partially emptied at that point. 2 resurrections. The just to everlasting righteousness and the unjust to everlasting condemnation. That resurrection has not yet taken place. It will not take place until the end of the 1,000-year reign of Christ upon the earth. Now, this Jesus hath God raised up, whereof we are all witnesses. We've all seen it. We've all seen him. Therefore, now, you see, he comes back now to the resurrection. Notice, this is the central part of the message. When he's talking, he gives you he throws out basic facts about Jesus. He is a man proved to be a God among you by the signs and miracles which he wrought, whom you, according to God's predetermined counsel for knowledge, with your wicked hands have crucified and slain. But God raised him from the dead because it wasn't possible that he could be held. Now when he gets to the central message, he expounds on it. He goes back, he gives scriptural basis, and he's talking about the resurrection and all, and shows that it is a biblical concept. And then he says again, coming back to this point, this Jesus hath God raised up, and we are witnesses of that fact. Therefore, now he's going to continue his message concerning Jesus of Nazareth. Therefore, he is exalted at the right hand of God. So Jesus today is in an exalted position there at the right hand of God in the throne of glory. And having received of the Father the promise, and it shall come to pass in those days, saith the Lord, I will pour out my Spirit. And having received of the Father the promise of the Holy Spirit, he hath shed forth this. Now he's back to the question again, what meaneth this? The outpouring of the Holy Spirit that they were observing.
Peter said in Acts 2 verse 36, Jesus is Lord and Messiah, risen and exalted. What now? Next, we'll see their response and the church ignite. Stay tuned for more Bible studies for God's glory.